All right, looks like we're live. What's going on? Hopefully, you guys had a great week. It's Brian. I am back with the What's the Business podcast. My business is I Sell Words, and I help business owners create content for their businesses. So, before we get into it, um, you'll see and I'll scroll it across the bottom. If you have any questions or anything that you want to pass forward to me, I'm scrolling the email address is right there at the bottom of the screen. That's where I want you to reach out to me if you have any marketing questions that you want me to answer that require a little bit of depth. If you have any that you think I can answer short, go ahead and post them in the comments. So this week, we're recapping this week's episode, which was kind of a part two. This kind of part two to last week. We're talking about why your business needs to be in the business of creating content. And so I wanted to kind of walk you through the concept of what content is. And for those that don't know who I am, my name is Brian. I have a business with my wife. We help small business owners figure out what their branding, what their content strategy is for their business, and then help them implement it. Primarily we enjoy using podcasts as our medium, but we can do podcasts, video podcasts. We can help you get started with a blog and a lot of other consulting services that we can help you out with to get started with. So I'm going to dive right into it. If you have any questions or any marketing questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and I will try to answer them. Make sure you include your name so I can see who you are. So, what is content? For the purposes of this, we're going to say that content is digital data you create. I really wanted to simplify and strip out a lot of other stuff, but for our own purposes, that's kind of the way I'm framing content. Now, there's going to be a lot of different definitions because it's a word that's kind of it's not new in the lexicon. You know, people have been saying content for a long time, but in terms of what we're talking about here, we're kind of talking about digital content. And there's a lot of different avenues and types of digital content that you'll see out there. Primarily, you'll see video. YouTube is the number 2 website that people visit. I think it's right after Google. And so video content right now is king. In short form videos, you're starting to see lots of TikTokers. Facebook's really jumping on the short form video marketing trend. YouTube has YouTube Shorts, but Facebook is really driving Instagram Reels, and they're really putting a huge emphasis on it. And when I say a big emphasis on it, that's kind of what their brand strategy is, to really incentivize people to use Instagram Reels and the Facebook Reels thing. But short form video content is out there dominating. Podcasts have been in the space for a long time, and they're not going anywhere. And it feels like there's a ton of podcasts out there, and there are, but a lot of them are entertainment based or, informational or edutainment kind of based. And there's not a lot of podcasts where people are talking about their businesses and what they do. And that's an avenue, that's a lane specifically for business owners to really define who they are. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. But there's also the emerging trend of video podcasts where people are actually utilizing platforms like YouTube, and actually Spotify is really getting into the video podcasting game. I'm playing around with that. I'm going to be playing around with that platform over the next couple of weeks, so maybe I'll have some good information to share with you. But it's kind of what's out there. So podcast is another one. Blogs, that's one of the OGs of the space. People have been doing blogs for a long time. It's still a great way to develop a following, and develop a following that you can really narrow down your audience to people that actually read long form copy. And you can put really good messages in there, and people will get into the habit of reading your blog. But blogging is just journaling online and basically telling your story to your audience. And so blogging has been on there for a long time. Creating social media posts is a form of creating content. And I think people underestimate that when they get out here and are creating any kind of branding message, they are creating content. And it's an important thing, even if you think your content is kind of fluffy and doesn't really hold a lot of weight, It does, and it adds value. And depending on how you want to frame it, it can be a tremendous value to any business venture that you want to roll out. Because what creating social media posts, like if people are following your social media, you do have a following, and they're following it because they like you, and that's part of building that rapport with your audience. Now it's basically duplicating what you do and finding ways to really tailor it towards the needs of what your business is and who your business is marketing to. All right. I got social media posts, landing pages, anything that goes on somebody's website. That is a form of content. And there's specific parameters to writing, engaging copy for somebody's website. And when I say copy are words that sell. Basically ads and things along those lines. Anything that inspires a client or a consumer to take action is going to fall under that jurisdiction of what I would consider copy. And website pages, landing pages. Landing pages are a single use kind of website that people are really just supposed to take a specific action. Like if you want them to book a session with you, you lead them to your landing page, not to the front page of your website. Don't lead people to the front page of your website. Have a landing page there to receive them. And if they want to reach out and book a time with you, that's what that page exists for, just to make appointments. Or a landing page is meant just to sell a specific product. So that's kind of what landing pages are. But words on your websites and email marketing is still a very powerful way to engage people. You know, it's right to them. You have to clear a lot of hurdles nowadays to actually have somebody on your email list. They have to opt in to hear from you, and it's incumbent upon you to deliver emails that keep them engaged and emails that they want to listen or want to read. So anytime you're expressing something to be consumed, you're creating content. And there's a whole breed of content creators. And the reality is, and I was going to say this a little bit later on, if you're looking to dive into the world of content, we all have the most flexible content creating device in the history of mankind, which is your phone. Your phone is basically a high quality camera attached to a digital recorder that's internet connected. There are a lot of big time influencers and content creators, and we're going to talk about the different classes of content creators that matter to what we're talking about, that are just utilizing their phones to do it. And they can really get you could create a lot of good content with just utilizing your phone. You upgrade it a little bit, slap a microphone on it, and now you've leveled up in terms of it. But it's one of the most flexible content creation devices in the history of man. And we're carrying a supercomputer around in our pocket. This is Jetson stuff. If you're talking to me in 1988, this is Jetson's technology. It's Star Trek technology. We are carrying around a small supercomputer. And that is one of the most versatile things to create content with. So the idea is, especially if you're a business owner, it's shifting your mindset. You want to shift from being somebody who just simply consumes other people's content to somebody that creates their own with their own unique audience. And it can be kind of a challenge to move out of that, because you see them, and a lot of these content creators, they're out there, they're young, they're fit, movie star looks and stuff like that. You don't have to be that in order to create content, even though that's the content we consume. And there's a reason why we consume it, because we like to see attractive people on our screen. That's just how it goes. And so there's always going to be a lane for attractive people on cameras, or people that have camera-friendly faces. I don't exactly have the most camera-friendly face, but I'm out here trying to create something and help business owners do the same thing. So the content creators, that's the class of people that produce content professionally. You've seen them, my kids, it seems like nowadays, and I don't know who the popular YouTubers are nowadays, but I can define them by the way I react to when my kids are listening to their content. You have the guy that screams at video games all the time and everything is just a different scream, or he watches scare videos and screams out loud, and it's just kind of a grating scream. But kids apparently love him, and they follow him, and they'll sit and watch him play video games. There are the influencers that do makeup, and the influencers that wear the newest fashion trends, TikTok influencers, they're doing dances and things like that. And I'm going to get a little bit into their business model, but for our purposes, it's not too important. Their business model is getting eyeballs on screens and keeping them engaged so that the platform that they're using can serve the people that are watching ads. It's as simple as that. It feels more complicated than it actually is, but it really is not. Your Logan Pauls. My daughter is into like Sniper Wolf sometimes, I guess. Mr. Beast. All these people who exist as the names on social media, or the names on YouTube specifically, and then the big name TikTokers who I'm not even terribly aware of. Their job is to serve content so that you can see the ads. That's why there's a pivot towards video, and there's a pivot towards highlighting video content on places like Facebook and Instagram. Because when it comes to video content, you can slide the ads right in there and make it part of the entire viewing experience. If you're just looking at static images, the ads can take you out of the experience and decrease your time on platform. So serving ads and getting paid by brands to talk about their products on your channel is primarily the way that a lot of the big time YouTubers and content creators make their money. We could take a little bit of that and fold it into the business, but understand, I'm not saying it's unattainable, but there are people that are constantly chasing virality by doing increasingly stupid things online. Let's keep it buck. And so at some point in time, you jump the shark completely, and your content is really about you doing stunts online and getting people to watch you embarrass yourself or embarrass somebody else. And that's not the move. And so from a business owner standpoint, I wouldn't follow too much of what these people do in terms of their content strategy. Now, a lot of the other marketing strategies that they employ, I would say, let's watch it and see what happens with it and see what you can use, take what you can use, throw away what you can't. But a lot of times we get sucked in. Sorry, I'm moving a little bit closer to the mic. A lot of times, when we think of content creators, that's the level that we think of. These people who have millions of followers and make millions and millions of dollars every single month. And they have a wide audience of people that are just looking for places to place their bored eyeballs. That's the reality of it. There's another class of content creators who have created information marketing based businesses. Now we're getting to the business piece of it. These are going to be people that are kind of like photographers. Off the top of the head, photographers are the ones that I see really maximizing that information marketing thing, where they give you tips and tricks about being photographers, or videographers do the same thing, where they provide their audience information on how to be successful at the craft of shooting good video or taking good pictures, or even structuring their business so they can kind of use that videography or photography business as an escape hatch for the full-time work that they're doing. Or if they're freelancing, how to pivot into a business. So that class of content creator, typically they provide good, solid information, and then they have the option to buy informational products. Like I've seen them sell ebooks. I've seen people sell digital courses on how to do X, Y, and Z and become a better videographer, or how to structure your creative business in a specific way so that you can have success. And so they sell digital products, and they make a ton of money doing it, and they don't need such a big audience to get the same returns. While this ad may pay, and I'm just throwing out numbers here, this specific, this ad that YouTube picked, they may pay a couple of pennies per 1,000 views. And so once you get up into the million views, now you're really chugging along. With a smaller audience, the people that have built an information marketing business can say, hey, my class is $99. And these are all the things that are included in it. And if you're interested, click here and you can get a promo code, and it drops down to $59. And people will consume that if they trust what that influencer is saying or trust what that content creator is saying and trust their knowledge. And they learn to trust their knowledge through posts on social media. That's the reality. And so there's a lot of good people out there. I've purchased courses from people and I haven't been disappointed yet. But I also make sure I also have a vetting process where I kind of make sure, for me personally, I make sure that I actually trust what they're saying and I'm willing to invest in their knowledge. And that's a very potent way where you're creating a business where the product is only your knowledge. You don't require any other overhead outside of paying for the place to host the digital classes or whatnot. But that's a class of content creators. So you have those big time influencers that need the millions and millions of viewers, and a lot of times they'll do anything to keep those millions of viewers. And then you take a step down to the people that actually built information based business around what they do, and they sell digital products, selling their knowledge, digital courses, and the whole nine. They can make a lot of money with smaller audiences. Let's take the next step. And then there's going to be us, the business owners, who use these social media platforms to drive content to existing businesses. And there's plenty of opportunities vertically with this where we can take advantage and we can get those ad dollars that the big people, the big players get as we build our audience. And we can sell our knowledge in the form of digital courses or ebooks. I've seen videographers sell or photographers sell LUTs, which are color correction, color adjustment packs and things like that. You can make a sustainable income by doing that as a side income to the business that you're drawing. But the big benefit of creating content for your business, one, it allows you to build that rapport with your audience. They trust what you're saying. They trust you know what you're talking about. Two, and so you don't have to do that live and in person. They follow you and they listen to you because they trust what your knowledge is, and you're giving them good usable information. And then two, once you establish yourself as somebody that they can trust, it makes that next part of the sales process a little bit easier because now you're the person front of mind when they have a specific problem that they need to solve. And so that's how business owners can leverage this. I've seen specifically, and I always shout out Scotty Kilmer because I really like what he does, but he's a guy that he's a mechanic. His mechanic business is really based on his YouTube views. He'll answer questions. People will submit questions about cars and stuff, and he'll answer them on his YouTube channel. And brands have taken notice and send him free stuff to review on his channel. Brands that mechanics use actually, and he's built a good following off of it, and he has a huge audience where he can make that kind of audience level income where they can run ads and he can make a decent income off of it. Plus, people seek him out to do business with him, and so that's the benefit that content creation does for your business. And we're not just talking about creating ads. It's more than just creating ads that get people to click. This is about establishing a rapport, establishing trust with the people that follow you. If they're following you, that they like what you say and you provided them good information. If they actively watch you, they're starting to trust what you have to say. Now, there's another layer to that where it could be, some people follow you because they can't stand you and they disagree with everything you say. And there's not a ton you can do about that, to be quite honest with you. There are people that are programmed in their mind to actively follow people that they do not like so that they can try to leave nasty posts and stuff like that. That's just what happens. It's a weird quirk in human nature. So that class of content creator, the second and third ones are who I'm talking today. People that want to create information-based businesses, if they're a consulting agency, if people pay them for their specific knowledge and maybe not a product they produce, this is an opportunity to actually produce a product that contains the knowledge that they have. and they can sell it and make a decent income. And their marketing is just creating the content. They don't have to do a lot of other things regarding their marketing. It's all inbound. All the people that find you were looking for you. And then the ones that use content platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, who else am I leaving out? Twitter, use these platforms to basically put their knowledge out to clients and have clients actively look for them. So, all right. So the opportunities that exist. First of all, it's expertise and thought leadership. I know that you don't get paid for doing TED Talks. You don't, the TED Talk, you don't really get paid for it, but it establishes your credibility and you can start commanding more fees based on your TED Talks, if that makes sense. So if you're on the speaking circuit and you get paid to speak and share your industry knowledge, you having a TED Talk on your resume that you lead with on your website and show and link to link to TED can do a tremendous amount for your speaking career. And you can ask a higher price point for paid and speaking engagements, keynote speeches and whatnot, because you have a TED Talk. You've already proven yourself in that specific niche or market to the point where you're on one of the biggest platforms for keynote speakers. And so you can really position yourself and demonstrate your unique expertise to people that are looking for your services. You can demand higher consulting fees for, people that are checking out your TED Talk. And so that allows you to do a lot more. People seek out and pay for the services of somebody who has expertise. Let's just be real about it. Experts charge more. Specialists in their field charge more. If you're a specialist in a field, you can charge more for your expertise. You can be a general mechanic and make a lot of money, but if you specialize in transmissions or whatnot, you can charge more. You can charge a higher price point because you can solve unique problems that that are specific to transmissions that regular mechanics may not be equipped to address. Specifically with doctors, we see it a lot. The doctors that specialize in something, the dentists that specialize in something with their patients are able to ask a higher price point. Or if their specific service, their delivery of service is so unique and it really makes the patient feel good about the service they just paid for, and it makes them feel much better than their competitors, much better than the time that client's gone to their competitors, you can leverage that and build something off of it. But that level of expertise allows you to define yourself in the marketplace, And here's the thing, I want y'all to pay attention to this. And this is a piece of game I'm going to put in here. Anytime you're competing on price, you're hurting yourself. If your major selling point and the reason why you want people to get with you and want people to patronize you is based on your price point, you're setting yourself up for a hard fall, because price can't be a differentiator. I'll be honest with you. To be the cheapest person on the block, that just means you're working a lot harder at what you do than everybody else. Now you may have more clients, but I promise you, the person that's charging 3 times as much and is handling pretty much the same volume of clients is in a better and in a happier position than you are. So price cannot be a differentiator, and I need people to understand that. Specifically with price conscious shoppers and stuff, you don't necessarily want the people who solely evaluate the worth of your product based on the sticker price or the cost of services, because you're setting yourself up to be just like everybody else. When price is the only differentiator, you look like everybody else. So selling on price is a race to the bottom. And I need y'all to hold that in your hearts and your minds. You don't want to just be out here selling on price. It doesn't move the needle in the way that you think it does. Now, specialize in something allows you to create that specialization. Expertise presented correctly is a stronger motivation than price for the right client. And we're saying for the right client, because the other side of what your content does is it allows clients to opt in and hear more of what you have to say, or opt out and say they don't want to be part of your services because they don't like you, or they don't like the way you presented something, or they disagree with how you presented something. And so having that ability to weed out clients who may not be the right fit for you before they get too far in your sales process is a tremendous benefit. And having creating content allows you to almost set up a gate to filter in the right clients and leave the ones that are kicking tires or the ones that may not fit for you kind of at the gate, so you can evaluate everybody on their own merits. um, Allowing those clients to self-select makes them feel happier with their choice. They don't feel bum rushed into a decision. They don't feel like they've been tricked or maneuvered or suckered into a decision. They sought you out. You provided them the price. They decided that price matches the value that they've ascribed to whatever they're trying to get done. Boom. The piece I don't have on my presentation that I wanted to discuss is content allows you to create an emotion related to an experience. I know a lot of us, and there's a huge world where people are really into logic and talking about thinking logically and what the logical brain does. And there are influencers that are based their entire way that they present data as the rational and logical brain. And really, here's the reality of it. Um, Logic is not really it doesn't really drive purchases the way that people think it does. It's part of a system, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it's part of another system. In order to make decisions, part of your decision making brain is emotional. You make emotional decisions, even if it's the most rational and logical thing to do. You have to have your emotional brain turned on in order to actually make that decision. um, I don't know about any cognitive scientists out there, but there's a book out there. I believe is it "You Are Not So Smart" or "You Are Now Less Dumb." There's two of them, but "You Are Not So Smart" or "You Are Now Less Dumb" by Dave McRae, and he talks about the split brain confabulation, where they had to literally, for a medical reason, they had to actually split somebody's brain, split the connectors in somebody's brain to address seizures. What happened was they removed that person's ability to connect their rational brain with their emotional brain, and they created a person that could not make decisions. They were paralyzed with every decision: what color shirt to wear, what kind of food to order, um, things about their job, where their job was really based on decision making. They could not make good decisions because they got paralyzed every single time they're faced with a decision. You require your emotional brain to make decisions. Don't let people lie to you and tell you that you can just turn that thing off. It's not how it works. So, as a business owner, if you connect your product or service to solve a problem that makes somebody comfortable, and I went through the Life Force 8 last week. I might have a follow-up episode to talk about the specific human emotions that you want to touch when you're creating an ad message. If you're interested, leave a comment and let me know, or give me a like and let me know. But the emotional brain is important in that decision making. If you can create a piece of content that touches a very unique emotion in a client, or somebody that's looking for an answer, you've created a connection where now they're likely to do business with you. And when they purchase a product, they're going to feel better about themselves. And a lot of times we underestimate the importance of making an emotional appeal to clients. And I think a lot of business owners are guilty of it. We're thinking that they're going to make the best choice based on price and things along those lines, and that's really not it. They're going to make a choice that intertwines with their emotions, how they're feeling about the purchase too. That's very important. It's the reason why you buy when you go to the movie theater, you buy an expensive soda and stale popcorn, because you've tied eating popcorn and drinking soda at a movie theater to a bunch of unique life experiences that made you feel good about it. That's why you do it. And that's why your program, when you sit down in a movie theater, you're like, you don't feel right unless you have some kind of snackage, some kind of popcorn, candy, or soda. You want that. And that's why you're willing to pay through the nose for it. And movie theaters know you're willing to pay through the nose for it. And that's why they charge through the nose for it. So creating content allows you to create that emotional connection with your audience. And you can appeal to emotions. You can talk about, if you run a AC or a HVAC service, you can talk about people being hot or cold and uncomfortable in their homes, and how you come in and you can create a warm and comfortable environment. And since human beings think in metaphors, I'm getting a little bit deep here. Since human beings think in metaphors, a warm home environment can mean a warm home environment physically, or a warm home environment emotionally, where you feel warm and comfort. Or the opposite, somebody could dwell in the wintertime months. You could dwell in a cold home environment where you're freezing all the time. And it can be a cold home environment, an emotionless home environment. You get what I'm saying? When you watch Christmas commercials specifically, and this is one that you see in a lot of them, the image of the person in their house sitting, sipping hot cocoa, looking out the snow, looking out into the world, and the snow is falling down and people are outside cold, or the person that comes in from the cold into the warm house, that elicits a very specific chain of emotions that people who live in cold weather climates understand. Now, these commercials may not be as effective in places where it never gets cold or never snows, but specifically, if you live in the Midwest, you know exactly what it feels like to be outside in the cold and come in from the cold and step into a warm, comfortable house and sit in front of a warm fire and eat something warm. It makes you feel warm, but it also makes you feel warm. There's two different feels there. You can feel the physical warmth, you can feel the emotional warmth. That's how they structure those commercials, folks. So you can invoke some of that stuff with your content. Now, you don't need to be Scorsese with the filmmaking and all that other stuff, but as long as you put a human element into your product or service, you can absolutely get people to put their emotions in, whether they want to do business with you or not. Trust is an emotion. And also, trust creates a series of events that happen afterwards. If you trust somebody, these are the things you're going to be willing to do. And reality is that's what the importance of the content creation is putting a human face behind what is normally a cold, marketing based climate, if that makes sense. So creating content allows you to track your results based on who's responding to what piece of content. If you have different videos for different products, you can see which are winners and which ones are losers. It makes it really fast. And for the winners, you can pour more money into them and say, okay, let's show this to as many people as possible. And for the losers, we can say, okay, we need to take this one back to the drawing board because people are not engaging with it. Is it the product that people aren't engaging with, or is it the way that we've constructed the marketing message? And if it's just the marketing message, you can pull it apart, reconfigure it, and put it back out there for people to consume and see how they react to it. But it allows you to kind of see who's responding to what. That only happens when you're creating content. A lot of times people think that these general ad messages about, hey, we're hanging a shingle and come on, we're open, are the way to do it. No, you need to really lay out what specific, you need to have pieces of content that reflect the different products or services that you're doing, and have you explaining what those products or services do and how they solve a problem unique to that individual. So I'm gonna take a brief pause for the cause and kind of focus on this, y'all. If you're out there watching, shoot me an email at mail@isellwords.net if you have any questions or you're interested in setting up a consultation to talk about what your content strategy is for your business. But if you have questions that you want answered on the podcast, leave them in the comments or shoot me an email, and we'll try to answer them on the show, or I'll answer them right here if I can. So well, we're going to go back to this because I'm about through with this, and then I'll leave it open for questions as they come in. Um, allowing clients to self-select. Um, you track results based on what that piece of content does, and we discussed that. Um, again, it's one of those things where you get to really get somebody before they get too far in your sales funnel. And unfortunately, we do have client expectations that mismatch with the services that they receive. You want to reduce the likelihood of that happening. So you get a chance to explain kind of what your product and what your process is so that they know up front what to expect. And you can clarify expectations so that you can reduce the likelihood of people not feeling like they're getting halfway through the service and saying this ain't for me. Because they don't come in with good expectations. And we've all had that, especially as business owners, where somebody comes in with expectations that don't really match uh, what that product proclaims to do or what our abilities are. And because there's a mismatch, both sides are left disappointed. It really is. Creating content also allows you to discover neat niches that you may not have been aware of. If you have a piece of content that's really specific to one segment of the market or one specific segment of people that are going to buy this product, and people are really responding like gangbusters there, that means that that's an area that you can kind of lean into. And maybe even if it's successful enough, more pivot your business into to do more business in the profitable niche. Serving everybody serves nobody. You don't want to be in that position. I was in that position where I was doing pretty much everything for everybody. And it's really stepping away and stepping out of that role because at the end of the day, I'm exhausted and frustrated and confused. When you get into that, I'm serving everybody who knocks on my door. You are opening yourself up to insane amounts of confusion and frustration and disappointment. And business owners know what it's like to have a business that ain't businessing the right way. Where things aren't going right. And a lot of it times it has to do with who you're marketing to and who your content is attracting in the door. And if you don't have a content strategy, basically the stuff you create is bringing in everybody, and you can't serve everybody. It feels nice to be able to serve everybody, but you cannot serve everybody. If you pull up to McDonald's looking for a pizza, you're going to probably be bitterly disappointed. And that's just the real. And you can't expect them to give you exactly what you want, because even if they were able to give you what you were looking for, you're not going to be satisfied with the experience because you're asking them to create something that they cannot and they aren't equipped to do. And so everything that they create is going to be a facsimile of the thing, and you're not going to want it. So having an idea of the who you're serving to and having that niche is super important. And creating content allows you to discover new profitable niches out there that you can dive right into. And yeah, I say niche and I say niche. That's just how my brain works. So it may seem frightening, but you'd rather have a client decide at the beginning that you ain't right for them before they even enter your sales process. You rather have them saying, you know what, this don't work for me. You rather have them do that at the front end than to get midway through where you've already committed time and resources and money to actually developing something for them. And now you're in that mode where you're halfway through and now they're coming back and pulling the plug on what you're trying to do. You do not want to be in that position. So utilize that to select people out and opt them out of what you want to do. Questions, comments, I'm open to them. Please go ahead and leave them. That's what this place is for. So I talked about it earlier. The answer is in your pocket. We all have phones. Most of us have smartphones. Most of those smartphones at least have a 720p camera on it. That's the baseline. All you need. Most of the time, the only thing people are consuming is 720p stuff. Their phone screens are not big enough to deliver 4K or 1080p. You have a phone, you can get started with content creation. Now, if you need a strategy, this is where you contact me at that email, and we could sit down and have a free strategy session and talk about what this looks like and what your strategy session is and who you're trying to attract into your base, because that's really what's important, is figuring out the who behind it. And the reality is, if you don't want to meet with me, that's cool. Then I'm going to continue to create content to really help you determine how you're going to create content. I'm going to push podcasts. I'm going to push YouTube, because those are the avenues that I see people having success in. But I'm always open to people that want to blog, and we could sit down and figure out what your blog's going to look like. I'm cool with that. And I'm actually happy to help you figure that piece out. If you're more comfortable writing, then definitely that's what we need to blog. If you're not comfortable in front of a camera, I know I'm not, but if you're not comfortable in front of a camera, then I do suggest podcasting. Now, if you hate the sound of your voice, podcasting's hard, but it is what it is. You do have to pick a way to put yourself out there. So it's basically pick your horse and ride it, and then you start figuring out the rules of the game as you play it. Now, from content strategy side of things, I know that there are people out there that post every single day. Every day you look up and they're posting something. Let me let you in on a secret. Come here. Let me let you in. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come closer. All right, that's too close. All right, stop right there. The people that are posting every single day, a lot of times what they do is they batch their videos. So that means they spend one day and record a whole lot of videos. They create a whole lot of videos, and then they schedule them to post throughout the week. That's how they post every day. They are not recording daily in a lot of cases. Now, the other side is you can come in and do a long form podcast with me, and we'll chop that podcast up into different segments that are usable across your social media. We can make a little audiograms where it's just our voice, but a little animated thing in the background so that we can edit it as a video. And you can post it on your social media for your clients to listen to. If we do a video one, we can do a long form video interview, and each topic we talk about gets chopped up into its own little segment, and we can repurpose that. So you can take a 90-minute podcast and really chop it up and repurpose it as a bunch of 6 to 10 minute segments that are talking about something very specific. So if there's a specific product that we break out and sit down and have a long talk about, we can chop that up and repurpose it just for your website. So you're just talking about that specific product. It doesn't have to be complicated. And a lot of times I think people look at it and get super overwhelmed at how this thing looks. And it really doesn't have to be like that. You create the content once and you repurpose it as many times. You repurpose as many times as you need to. There are people right now on YouTube that have created information marketing videos, and they created those videos 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they're still getting clients off of those. They don't have to recreate a thing. Maybe they had to go in and update the links. But if you don't change anything, you're creating an avenue for them to constantly come in and follow you. There are podcasts that I've done and created or had a hand in producing that, got abandoned, but they're still getting listeners. It just happens like that. Create the content once and use it forever. That's the idea. Repurpose it. If it's not doing what you needed to do here, then you cut it a little bit and repurpose it and put it over here and see what it does. That's how you do it. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a complex thing. I would never advise one of my clients to post once a day. Sets the expectation too high, it makes you too susceptible to burnout. Once a week is pushing it for some people. We can, if you feel like you can do it. If there's a day of the month where you sit down and say, all right, cool, this is my recording day. I'm going to put in 6 hours and we're going to record all the content for the month, and then we'll just chop it up. Boom. That works. But once a week can be pushing it, even though that they say that's kind of best practices depending on the platform you're on. If you feel comfortable, you can go once a month, and then as you really get used to the flow of it, scale it up to twice a month, and then you keep adding to it. But don't dive in full bore and say I'm gonna post every single day and burn yourself out. There are plenty of professional YouTubers that have have limited their careers because they burnt themselves out emotionally trying to post daily. It's not how it works. Let's see. The best content answers the questions your clients come in with most frequently. So take a look at what people ask you the most about your business. You have a video or a podcast or a blog about it. Take those 15 most asked questions and you can create 10 to 15 pieces of content off of them. And that's where you get started. And as you start flowing, you'll come up with newer questions, or you'll visit questions and say, I need to provide more context to this question, and you'll be able to follow up on things. But start with the 10 to 15 most asked questions. You'll have 10 to 15 pieces of content that you can roll out immediately. All you have to do is write it down and figure out how you're going to deliver it. And here's the real bonus. If your subject line, specifically for videos, if your subject line in the video or what the video is about, if your description is on point, that video can become searchable, especially if you post it on YouTube. It can become searchable on Google and end up in that first page of results, where your face and your voice is sitting there walking somebody who's looking for services or looking for an answer to a question. Your face and your voice is walking them through the process. How likely are they going to be to seek out who you are and do business with you if you land on that first page of results? You're the first expert that they come in contact with, and you give them information that they can use. The next step, if the content is structured right, is, you got any questions? Here's my email address. Here's my website. Come give us a visit. Give us a call. Get your questions answered. So you have the ability now, if you land on that first page, now you're positioned in your client's mind as the expert's expert, because it's hard to get on the first page. It's a lot easier if you structure the title of your video. If you structure your title of your video as a question that somebody's already asking. If you do a video saying, how do I pick the best car in Omaha? Because that's where I'm at. How do I pick the best car in Omaha? If you have a video that says, how do I find a good car in Omaha, or something that's kind of a variation of that, your answer, the video that you post on YouTube, might be searchable. It might pop up in the search results on Google. And if that happens, then that person's going to probably reach out to you because you're the first person to answer the question when you popped online. So that's how that goes. Questions, guys. If you have questions, I'm gonna keep doing this. I see people popping in and popping out, and that's cool. If you have any marketing questions, please hit me with them, because that's what I'm here to do, and that's what this live stream here is here to do. What I'm doing right now, I'm gonna give you the sauce behind what I'm doing. Basically, I'm kind of teaching the algorithms on Facebook and YouTube that I typically post on Friday afternoons, so that as they see that I go live on Friday afternoons, they start directing traffic my way. Because right now, I haven't been, I'm only a couple of episodes of Friday streams deep. Right now, the the Facebook algorithm doesn't quite get what my posting schedule is. As I get more consistent, it will start showing it to more and more people that have relevant interest. So right now, these videos, even though it doesn't look like it, I'm basically training the algorithm to show this to people that will find value in it. And so that's what you got to do. A lot of times, especially when you're creating content, it may start out as a slow burn. But as you start pouring more and more gas onto the fire, it will pick up, y'all. But specifically when you're dealing with platforms that use algorithms to show it to, an algorithm is basically how this thing is going to process my content and say, okay, this is who needs to see it and this who doesn't need to see it. I'm basically training the algorithm on how to react to when I go live. And so I'm gonna stay on here and posting stuff. And as people come in, the idea is um, YouTube and Facebook will kind of see the value in it and continue to broadcast these live and show these in other people's feeds. So that's what I'm doing right now. Again, it's a process and it starts out as a slow burn. To get your slow burn started, hit me at mail@isellwords.net. I want to sit down and talk with you about what your content strategy is and figure out if YouTubing or podcasting is for you. And if it is, how it can help your business and what strategy we would implement to make it happen. I'm also in the business of shooting short form videos for your business, to talk about a product or service specifically for you to utilize on your website, like, an About Us page, and is your voice explaining what your business is, or individual landing pages. If you have individual products or services, we'd love to capture you talking about them and explaining what problems they solve to the audience. And we can help facilitate those and create those for you. But it all starts out with the email. Shoot me an email at mail@isellwords.net and we can schedule a time to sit down and talk. This week's podcast is still in the lane of creating content. We take a deeper dive into it. We talk about a lot of the things that we discussed here, but also a couple of other things related to getting started and what you need to do. If you guys are interested in any subsequent podcasts about equipment specific to podcasting or specific to creating videos on YouTube, hit me up and let me know in the comments, or shoot me an email and say, hey, Brian, I really want to hear about that. If you're interested in hearing about the Life Force 8, I'm talking about how you can create more compelling ads using the Life Force 8. I'm down to do a full episode about that and talk about how we can utilize the emotions of our audience to get them to take action and buy our products or services. So let me know if you're interested in either one of those. Next week's podcast hasn't really been planned yet, y'all. I've been working on stuff for other clients or whatnot, and so it's gonna be a surprise when I do it. But that's all I got on today's episode. If this live stream has done anything for you, giving you any insights, ask. If you see this later on, if this live stream has benefited you in any way, leave me a like. Leave me a like and drop a comment on it, where you see it. And share it with somebody. If you have other business owners that you think this provides good information to, share it, because that's the only way that's the only way we're going to educate this algorithm about what's good content and what's not good content. There's too much noise in this space about making money quick and not enough about what it actually takes to make your business work. So that's all I got. I appreciate y'all's time. Thanks for popping in and sitting and listening to me go on for almost an hour. If you have any questions, leave them in the email and I'll try to answer them either on the next episode or on the next live stream or the next podcast. So that's all I got. I'll talk to y'all later. What's the business, y'all? Peace.